Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi everybody, Joe Alcoholic. Let's thank Chuck for coming out this morning and giving a wonderful talk. Please help me welcome our next speaker, Debbie.
I'll need some Kleenex here, I think. My name's Debbie, and I'm an alcoholic. And Joe, thank you. I love you so much. Phew. Chuck brought out some really neat memories, and you know, we're both very proud of our relationship, and we're very proud of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am so honored to be up here and being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. My gift of sobriety is September 23rd, 1976. And I was 8 years sober when we got married, and Chuck was 2 years sober. And we went to Mexico on our honeymoon, and we were down in La Paz, and we always look for an AA meeting when we travel. That's the first thing we do. And took us all day long to find this meeting, not speaking much Spanish, and La Paz is well, this is almost 19 years ago, is a pretty simple community. And so we hunted, and we finally found the meeting. Mike Higgins, that sat back there with Chuck guarding the bathroom, was there. He came on our honeymoon with us. So take friends, you know, on your honeymoon. And so my girlfriend and Mike came down for our honeymoon, and we found this AA meeting, and it was a real simple room. And La Paz is a very poor community, and this room had a beautiful speaker system. It had a very plush chair sitting over here. The secretary sat up at the front, and then the group sat out in the front here. And we came in there, and my girlfriend and I and one wife were the only women in the room. I think the wife was there to watch the husband to make sure he went to the AA meeting, but it was all in Spanish, and we could hear it. You could hear what it was like, what happened, and what it was like today. It was just, you know, it just hit your soul. But after the meeting, one of the guys from the airport came up to Chuck, and he had figured out during the meeting, he had figured his English out, and he came up and he said, "I'm 2 weeks sober in AA. I found a better way of life." And, you know, that's how I feel. I found a better way of life, and I need nothing more. But what was cute about it, they found out I was 8 years sober and Chuck was 2, and they called me his godmother. And so I have continued to be his godmother through our 19-some years. We have had some marvelous experiences in AA. Chuck was talking about the towpath, and I was back in Philadelphia. I was flying back about every 3 weeks, and the only good thing about that 2.5 years is we have 400,000 or 500,000 frequent flyer miles, and that's about it. I didn't like the East Coast very much, but we decided to try out tandem. We were going to bicycle and see if we wanted to buy a tandem, and so we rented a tandem, and we rode along this towpath that Chuck was talking about, going out to Valley Forge, and it was a gorgeous day. The East Coast can be gorgeous for a few minutes, and we were riding along, and we got a flat tire, and we're way away from Manioc. And Chuck had brought a kid along, and we changed the tire. We meaning I watched, and he changed it. And the tire, it went flat, so we didn't have a spare, and so we just started walking, and you know, it was just gorgeous. And you know, we said, "Guy, you know, I don't know how it can get any better than this, and maybe if a groundhog walked across the path." And I'll tell you, within 30 seconds, this groundhog walked across this path. I think God just waited there in that towpath to do little miracles for people, and that were open enough to see him. And that's what I've experienced in sobriety, is that we come in here with a lot of layers that are absolutely covering us from God's soul coming to us. You know, I came in here with arrogance. I came in here with sarcasm. I came in here with guilt and shame and superiority. You know, it was all covering me and did not give me the ability to feel God coming into me. And whether you believe in God or a higher power or nothing, some kind of source is there that has helped me through this sobriety. And as I work these simple little steps that changed my life, each layer got peeled away. All of a sudden, I became not so sarcastic. I learned to be a little bit kinder. One time, someone asked me how you join Alcoholics Anonymous, and I said, well, you sit down in a chair, and you might get a cup of coffee. And I said, the next meeting, someone might bring you a cup of coffee. And then the third meeting, you might bring someone a cup of coffee. You're now a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And, you know, that's just how simple it is, that we learn that kindness, that maybe we could say to the person next to you, my name's Debbie, how are you? Or you find that I always can find a gal hiding in the corner, so afraid. Go up and say, would you like to go out for coffee afterwards? And as you learn to take all those layers away, I find that God gets to send you some miracles. And the miracles are amazing. I've said this for years, and I've never done it. I've written one story that I was going to write my miracle stories, because I've had so many of them. And I want to do a book that just says my miracles. I have a miracle that happened recently that just blows me away. And I say this, my daughter is in the program. She and I have given each other permission to say anything about each other, that it's all open. If it can help anybody else, it's fine. So I had someone come up and criticize me very, doing like one of these to me, that I had no right to tell my daughter's story. I have every right to tell my daughter's story because I lived it with her. And if there's 1 ounce of that story that will help someone else, I will tell it. So I'm going to tell this one story that is something that is very intimate and something I never tell. I've probably told this story 2 or 3 times. But I got a phone call about a month ago from a gal, and she said, hi, my name's Tammy, and I got your name from, I don't remember who she got the name from. She lives in Gardena. And she said, I'm 21 years sober and I'm looking for a new sponsor. I need someone that has a good relationship and has a lot of time. And I hear that you and your husband have a good relationship and you've got a lot of time. And I said, yes, that's true. And I said, I have a little women's group on Wednesday night. Why don't you come over and sit in on the group, and then let's talk afterwards and see if we get along well, you know, and if you feel like you want me to be your sponsor. And so she came over, and she had recently adopted a baby. She had had a miscarriage. They'd been trying to have children for a long time, and she had finally gotten pregnant and miscarried, and through some circumstances they were able to adopt a baby. And she had shared that during the meeting, and so I shared something that I had not. Chuck said he's only heard me talk about it twice in our time together. And I talked about my daughter, when she was 18 years old, was pregnant and in the streets, and she couldn't live with me. She was not livable with me. and she hung around the Alano Club a lot. She was sober, and she was adopting the baby out, and she had found the adoptive parents, and when it was time for her to go into labor, the kids from the Alano Club, there was quite a group of teenagers that hung around the Alano Club that were sober, and they took her to the hospital and called me, and I sat in the waiting room with the adoptive parents, with the adoptive mother. And I was telling this story, and I said, and there were three, I said, God bless those teenagers. I said, I remember there were three people there in that room, and I said, I remember Eddie Gazaniga and his sister, and I said, there was one other person, and I don't remember who that was. This girl looked at me, and she said it was me, and she was the other one that was there when the baby was born. And she did not know who I was. My name is different than it was at that time. She just got my name from someone, and it was just, it's another one of those little God shots that happen all the time. And I'm meeting with her tomorrow, and we're going to talk some more. I know what's happened in my life is that I have been open to hear. Someone one time asked me what was sobriety, and I said it's willingness to learn. And when I came in this program, I knew even though when I came in the program you would not have thought me alcoholic. If you've been around me you would, but on the outside I did not appear like an alcoholic. I was a bank officer. We had 4 cars. We had 2 homes. Our kids were in private schools. It all looked very good. My husband was a Rotarian. He had been president of Rotary, worked at the local furniture store. Everything appeared very well in order. And it was a mess. Inside that home was a mess. And so when I came in this program, I did not appear like we think of alcoholics. And I don't come from a dysfunctional background. I was raised in a very nice home, meaning a nice, calm home. I was never abused. I had discipline. I had chores. I was raised on a 10-acre orange ranch. My father was a dentist. My sister had a horse. We hiked on weekends. Everything looked very normal, and it was. Everybody in that family was relatively normal but me. And I chose to go the other direction. The principal at the school said, Debbie, you are such a leader, but you're going the wrong way. And he was so right. And now I forgot what I was talking about. It doesn't matter. I'll talk about something else. I could go on for days and hours and all that, but I'm going to go back to the miracle stories because I have a few of them that I just love. And as I say, as we come in this program, when we learn to get rid of those layers, that I think the miracles get to happen. I divorced after 6 months of sobriety, and we'd been married 17 years, and probably the hardest time for my kids, really put them through hell. I did not do a good program for a long time. I immersed myself in AA and forgot that I had a whole family at home, and I really abandoned the kids, and it took its toll. It's taken a lot of years for us to kind of mend all that and bring the family back together, but my first husband came to AA one time, and he got it and said that's just fine, and he went to Al-Anon and became an Al-Anon circuit speaker, and hid his bottles even though he lived alone, and had a slight alcohol problem. And I don't know, I guess it's been about 8 years ago maybe, I got a phone call. We do a tree decorating party every year, and it was in the middle of this tree decorating party. We just open our house to anybody that comes, and the phone rang, and it was my son, and he said, Mom, he was crying. He was just hysterical. He says, you've got to get back up to Oxnard. Dad's in the hospital, and they've just amputated his leg. And So after the party was over with, I called a girlfriend and said, I need to come stay with you. And Chuck said, you need to be there. And that's the blessing of people in the program. He had no feelings at all that my place was to be by my next ex-husband, because he was very critical. And I packed a bag and went up there, and I spent a lot of time in ICU with him, and didn't look like he was going to live through that. And my daughter was in jail, headed for prison. So the time I wasn't at ICU, I was in the courts, waiting for her to get sentenced. And so after about 3 or 4 days of that, I knew I was in trouble. I had to get to a meeting. So I went back to one of my old meetings, which was on Main Street in Ventura. I worked right down the street from there, and I used to spend my lunch hours there. And I went back there, and I walked up the Alano Club. It's an old Alano Club that's on Main Street over on the second story, and walked up there, and I passed this one guy, Phil, and he said, oh, hi, Debbie, how are you? And just kept on walking. I hadn't been in that club in 15 years. And he acted like I never left, and I hadn't. I really had never left. And I went to that meeting, and then I needed to get back to L.A., and I drove back to L.A., and on the way back, I thought, I need to go see Elsie, who was a gal that was at my first meeting. And Elsie and I had done a lot of conventions together, and H&I, and Elsie was dying. She was in the hospital, and she had cancer, and I wanted to go say goodbye to her. And so I stopped by the hospital in Camarillo, and here I'd been in these dungy ICU and the courtrooms, and it was really heavy and depressing. And I walked into Elsie's room, and here it was Christmas time. Here's a tree all decorated in the corner. There are cards all over the wall from people in AA. Elsie's got this red T-shirt on with a Christmas tree on it, and Merry Christmas. And I just climbed up on her bed with her, and we started talking. And Elsie didn't have any hair. Her teeth were in the glass on the nightstand. She had a thing in her throat, and she was a mess. She wasn't going to be around much longer. And I just climbed up on the bed, and we started talking, and we'd been talking for a little while, and the nurse came in, and she said, Elsie, how are you talking? You have no voice box. And, I just said, thank you, God. We communicated, we said our goodbyes, and she died about a month later after that. And, I go through life, and I just open myself up, and God says, just watch this. Just watch this. The miracles go on and on. I work a hard program, and I talked about this yesterday. I was fortunate to be the speaker yesterday morning, and Jim asked me, how do we do so much? And Chuck and I do a lot in the program. And if you want to call this bragging, you bet it's bragging. Our primary purpose is to stay sober. And the way you do that is, for us, is to be of service and be at these meetings. We have a set schedule of meetings that we go to, and then we catch others if there's something that we need to do. We work with others a lot. And Jim asked, how do you do all that? My alternative to doing that is to sit in front of the TV, sleep late, eat too much, and be unhappy and miserable. And I don't want to do that. I'm 64 years old. I'm watching a friend of mine die. My mother's 94. She's not going to hang around. She might. She keeps hanging around. I want quality. I want quality of life. What I do is very selfish. I do it to make me feel good. And when I sit on the couch and I do nothing, I don't feel good. When I come to meetings, when I pick up the phone, when I listen to people, I feel better. The gal there's a gal I'm sponsoring that's in the end stages of MS, and we're caring for her. We're loving her on the way out. And I talked about Dory yesterday. Dory's a gal I sponsor. Belinda took a 9-year cake and Dory was 90 days sober. So Dory has taken Belinda on as her sister in sobriety, and we took a meeting over to her yesterday at the convalescent home. Belinda can't move anymore, and she lays in her bed, but she laid there with a smile. And you know why? Because we had a brand newcomer there. Dory brought a gal that had 30-some days of sobriety, never been in AA before, and she was probably in her late 40s, 50s, never even experienced AA, and she was floated in. She was so excited about AA. So Belinda, with her 9 years and on her way out of this world, and this gal with 30 days of sobriety, and they just looked at each other with that excitement. And we did a meeting there, and gave Belinda a good day, and I did some personal things for her that she can't do for herself, and I left there and I felt better. And that's damn selfish, but the more selfish I get, the better someone else gets, because I get to give it to them. I give it to you guys because you give it right back to me. And Dory and I were walking back. We came to the meeting this morning because someone I sponsor celebrated 4 years of sobriety. And I did a ritual I've done with so many people, and I love it. Chuck and I do it on every birthday. We both wear, circle triangles with our numbers on it. And on our birthdays, we get up, and Chuck will hand me my number, and then I sit there and I put it on my necklace, and then Chuck puts it around my neck. And I do the same for him. And this morning, Jean took her it was her 4th birthday this morning, and I gave her her number, took her necklace off of her, put the number on it, and Chuck put the necklace back on her. And those rituals are so terribly, terribly important. I have worn a circle, triangle, and a number since I first got sober. I have the same necklace on that I had on the first year of sobriety. I have the same chain. I haven't even broken my chain. Thank you, God. I've never lost this necklace. And when I was drinking, I lost just about everything I had, including my clothes, And I don't do that anymore. I was talking about Dory and I walking back, and Dory's got 148 days, and we're walking back from the restaurant next to the Crest House. Crest House isn't open today. And I asked Dory what she was doing last year at this time. And if we look back, what were you doing the last time you drank on New Year's? I'll tell you that I was waking up with the most god-awful hangover, wondering what in the world my kids were doing, and they were little. Many times they were very young, wondering how I got home, who I insulted, was I home, did the car make it home, all those things. And we are up here at a meeting at 7:30 in the morning, walking real fast to go to breakfast so we can get back here for the marathon, and I get to walk back with Dory with her arm in my arm, and we get to share what this wonderful program is. And this is a special, special gift that we don't all get to get. Chuck and I lost a dear friend this year, and I'm so mad at her. If I could go up wherever she is, I'd strangle her again. We just loved her. Joanne, we've known for, probably 10 years, I think, if we look back when we first met her, and had so much fun with her. Tom and Chuck and I and Joanne, we all went on sober vacations, and we just had goofy times together. And then Joanne was living in California for a while, and we had great times together. And she had a wonderful personality and a sense of humor, all the money she could ever want, and every treatment program she could ever go through. And last Christmas, she died drunk, and she died drowning in her bathtub. And she was 45 years old, and I don't want to do that, and I get very sad when I see people that do that. What really is scary to me, I took a picture of Joanna, and Leah one year at Christmas time, and I had the three of them were sitting together holding up their fingers for how many months of sobriety they had. And I said to them in my very blunt way, I wonder which one of you is going to die first. Well, we've lost one, one's out there, and one's sober. So, you know, we don't all get this. Some of us have to be the example of the disease, and the disease is devastating. You know, listening to Sean this morning, I've known Sean since he first came in here, and listening to him and the gutters that he had to crawl through to get here, and what happens to us. And you know, this is a precious, precious gift. Sitting here on a New Year's Day morning, being concerned about your sobriety is a whole bunch better than laying in a bed of vomit after being out the night before. And I'm absolutely honored to be here, and thank you, Joe.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs, long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down. And then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.